Today and tomorrow we'll see Cambodia host the second Lancang-Mekong Cooperation Summit to promote and engage in regional cooperation among the 6 nations that share the Lancang-Mekong River, namely China, Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos and Vietnam. Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen said on Tuesday that the meeting will bring great benefits to all these members. Since the LMC's creation, China has allocated billions of dollars to support river projects, including water resource research centers, border trade, forest restoration, water quality monitoring, agriculture and poverty alleviation, and Mekong-based small and medium-sized enterprise. What will the outcomes be from the second LMC? Are the people of ASEAN countries seeing a benefit, or are their governments? And what are the issues remaining that need to be addressed? To discuss these issues and more, I'm happy to be joined in the studio by Mr. Rong Ying, Vice Chairman at the China Institute of International Studies, and Dr. Song Qingren, who is the Associate Professor with the China Institute of Contemporary International Relations. We shall also speak by telephone to Mr. Po Surak, who is the Executive Director at the Cambodian Institute for Cooperation and Peace. That's our topic. This is Dialogue. I'm Yang Rui. But before we get started, let's look at this.
The Lancang-Mekong Cooperation was proposed by Premier Li Keqiang during the 17th China-ASEAN Leaders Meeting in 2014 and was officially launched in March 2016 by the 6 countries along the river. The Lancang River originates in the Qinghai-Tibet Plateau in southwest China. It's called the Mekong River once it flows through Myanmar south to Vietnam before entering the South China Sea. The waterway stretches for nearly 5,000 kilometers, and there are over 300 million people living alongside it. The LMC mechanism has formed dialogue mechanisms at different levels, including with a leaders meeting, foreign ministers meeting and senior officials meeting. All 6 countries have established LMC national secretariats or coordination units and joint working groups. Most of the 45 early harvest projects and 13 initiatives have been completed or made substantive progress, and the first batch of projects of the LMC Special Fund have been completed. In the first 10 months of 2017, trade between China and the other 5 countries in the Lancang-Mekong area reached $17 billion, up 15% from the same period over the previous year, and it's expected to surpass $20 billion in the whole of 2017. From January to October 2017, China's investment in the 5 countries reached about $2.7 billion, up 22% from the previous year.
Gentlemen, given the history and disputes over water resources concerning the Lancang-Mekong River, is it easy job to build consensus through summit meetings like this one that is going on in Cambodia, the host country?
Certainly it is not so easy as we can see, because after all, I think on the one hand, we would find that all the 6 countries, they share the same river, as we say, the Lancang-Mekong River basin, and which means that they also share the future, the destiny. But on the other hand, that as the river runs from China, Guangxi and Yunnan province, and to the rest of 5 countries, you will find that along the river, the different countries, they have different priorities how to make use of the water resources. So managing the water resources and make sure that their development would be able to achieve in a sustainable way is not an easy job. And fortunately, so far, as we have seen that for ever since the creation of this initiative, this mechanism, we have seen great progress. We are very proud of that. This is a new type of sub-regional cooperation. We call and has created a new model of cooperation between the 6 countries on an equal basis for win-win cooperation.
Dr. Song, what's your opinion about the driving force and political will behind the creation of this initiative? What do you think of the motivations behind the broader picture?
Yeah, the first is that all of the 6 countries under the cooperation mechanism are developing countries, and also the Laos, Myanmar, and Cambodia are poor countries. So all of the 6 countries needs the development urgently. And the second, in the past years, we know that the Western economy is not so performance is not so good. So it's very important for our 6 countries in this region to make joint efforts to our own joint efforts to develop ourselves. The third is that in this region, the Great Mekong area, in the past many years, the other cooperation mechanisms are dominated by the outside big powers. This so the 6 countries along the river, we should need our own mechanism dominated by our 6 countries.
We are aware that these 5 members of the Lancang-Mekong River Cooperation Mechanism are land-based. They are landlocked, except for Vietnam, which is also a coastal country. So why is it important for them to come to terms with the Chinese political will for improving the coordination regarding water resources and the construction of hydropower stations?
Well, of course, I think first of all, I would say that the development of China, the rise of China, has provided huge, big opportunities for the rest 5 countries to make sure that whether the opportunities provided by China's development will be able to capitalize, and more importantly, I think shared. So I thought that
in other words, we encourage these neighboring economies to share the free riding.
We're welcome to take
jumping.
Exactly. Well, I think we made it very clear. We would allow welcome to share the opportunities. Secondly, I think these 6 countries, they are close neighbors. They have a very good, bilateral relationship. But of course, neighbors, they also have some problem. And some of the problem related to, this river, how to manage the river, how to make sure that instead of dividing, creating problems or differences between them, the management of the river, the development, the priority for development would make these 6 countries to work together as a group so that they can enjoy sustainable and fast growth. I think that is exactly why we have this sub-regional mechanism. And by the way, in the past decades and more, there are regional, institutions like Asian Development Bank and others. They're working on that, the Greater Mekong River sub-regional cooperation, but that's not as successful as that. This organization, this mechanism, only for 2 years when it officially launched. That's the first leaders meeting, 2016, March. Within 2 years, we have seen make a miracle, make great progress. That's what we call it. It's a LMC speed, LMC model, and LMC cooperation. So now we are working on, we're talking about, has shifted from a kind of a nurturing period to a growing period. So this is miracle. This is very good. And of course, there are other issues we can work out. This meeting, the second meeting, is going to review the progress that has been made in the past 2 years, and more important, they are going to plan what is going to do in the future.
We have heard a lot of critical voices regarding the prospects of the Mekong-Lancang River. For example, both of you spoke of some geo-economic rivalry, like before the inauguration of the Lancang-Mekong River mechanism, we had some major powers outside this region. The Lancang River or Mekong River Group, I don't know the exact name of that organization. At the same time, you spoke of ADB, Asian Development Bank, which is dominated by the United States and Japan, because they are the major shareholders in this financial institution. So do you think this is a rival group that was established upon the initiative of China to compete with these 2 economic giants and vie for regional influence?
Well, I don't see such a rivalry, existing between...
You don't employ this paradigm to examine the issue?
No, not at all. Rather, I would see as kind of attempt by the 3 countries to complement, to make sure the sub-region as a whole, as I said, the 6 countries can work together for a sustainable development, for find a way to address these issues like poverty, to find a way to make sure that the cross-border development, connectivity issues, poverty issues would be better coordinated, would be worked out in a way, work together in a way that they can work together. That's why we have a vision. That is, we are going to build, we are going to strive to build a community of shared future for Lancang-Mekong River. That is a vision, and I think it could become a reality as the 6 countries working together.
What you say reminds us of the Belt and Road Initiative, whose essence actually focuses on 2 issues. One is co-prosperity and the other interconnectivity. And therefore, cross-border trade and investment to help build and improve coordination regarding water resources would be crucially important for these 6 member countries. Having said this, let me cross over to Mr. Po Suthirak, Executive Director of the Cambodian Institute for Cooperation and Peace. He used to be a diplomat, so don't feel surprised if he uses diplomatic rhetoric to outline or give a rosy picture. First of all, how has jointly cooperating over the Mekong benefit Cambodia? What are your thoughts?
Well, this is another important question, and as I noticed that in December this year, China have made substantive fund available in the amount of $7.3 million under the LMC Special Fund to allow Cambodia to carry out 16 projects in my country, covering a variety of areas, including agriculture, tourism, I believe also ICT, public health, education, and research, as well as water resource and rural development, among other things. So I think there is these cooperations will definitely bring concrete result to Cambodia. I believe that if and when all these projects is implemented in good faith and successfully, the people of Cambodia will benefit greatly from this initiative.
We are wondering aloud if Cambodia represents the collective will of the 5 member states of ASEAN. So the next question is, what concerns does Cambodia have regarding the Mekong that you think must be addressed in the future?
Well, in my view, some of the concern that I have when we're talking about the development of connectivity projects, for example, infrastructure projects, need to mobilize huge financial support and technical expertise to complete such a project. And the concern here is that we want to make sure that whatever Cambodia, for example, my country, want to utilize funding support from under the LMC, we hope that we will receive a preferential treatment, in the sense that we will have a best support, best rate compared to other multilateral funding that Cambodia used to loan some money. So financial aspect with good term. Also, we want to pay attention to the quality development of those projects, taking into consideration the environmental and social impact. But all in all, I believe that LMC will bring about a new way of sub-regional cooperation that will benefit both China and the 5 countries on the one hand, but also will engage with other existing mechanisms that also do some development work with regard to the Mekong region.
That is indeed a very constructive point about the coordination between LMC and other existing agencies that have been there for years to promote the dynamics of regional or sub-regional cooperation. Having said this, we don't have any questions about the political will or goodwill of the authorities in Thailand, a neighboring country in ASEAN. But we have also heard the critical voices from NGOs in this country with regard to, for example, China's attempt to blast open the sections of the Mekong between Thailand and Laos to allow the passage of bigger cargo ships to lay groundwork for, improving the Belt and Road Initiative. This obviously remains very controversial. Do you think government in this young democracy of Thailand would have to heed the advice and suggestions from the NGO so that there won't be any more protests of red shirts or yellow shirts in the streets of Bangkok?
Yeah, I think the first that the development of the cooperation in this region, the mechanism also, there are different voices. There are some people support this cooperation, some projects, and also there are some voices against it. So we should balance, and we should listen to many views, different views, and we should balance the different people's interest. And the second, we hope that the Thailand situation should be stable in the future. There are no more the red shirts and the yellow shirts confrontation, and so this stable situation will make sure that Thailand government and its people can have basically coordinated efforts to attain this cooperation mechanism. The third is about, I want to emphasize that we see that the cooperation, the LMC cooperation is attended by the 6 member countries along the river, but we don't see that this mechanism is will exclude the countries outside this region. This mechanism, we often see that it's inclusive. We welcome different countries outside the regions to attend this mechanism to benefit the regional development. So I think in the future, if the 6 member countries and also the outside stakeholder countries, if we can have a very broader cooperation picture, this will benefit not only this region, but it will benefit the outside stakeholders. So this, I think, this will also another picture of balance different stakeholders' interest, not only inside the 6 countries, but also we should also consider the outside big powers, not to let the outside big powers to disturb or damage the 6 countries' regional cooperation.
It seems China is making a comeback to the Mekong River and to balance this process of regional integration in a constructive way. The current stories we heard, particularly debates on the role China plays along the reaches of the Lancang River in particular, is the alleged abusive construction of dams that sometimes drained the lower parts of the Mekong River. Taking Vietnam as an example, farmers benefit enormously. They used to benefit from the water of the river. However, it seems Chinese residents who inhabit the upper reaches of the river ignored their well-being and livelihoods. Do you think China is licking wounds and we take these lessons seriously and we would use this political process and dynamics of the mechanism to put national interests and stakes from all 6 nations into the basket? And Premier Li Keqiang has arrived in Cambodia to attend the meeting to hear the voices.
Oh yeah, I think certainly this is a very good opportunity, and we have the Lancang-Mekong River MMC is a very good platform, as we have been discussing that we have within that mechanism the 6 countries are treating each other as equal and working together for find a way to promote common development. But equally important is that if there's any problem, they can sort out their problems on an equal basis. And the management of waters in terms of environment protection and uses and so on and so forth is also a major issue, actually one of the 5 priority areas of cooperation. And China, as a sort of upper reach of that Lancang-Mekong River. According to international law, there are regulations or there are practices that is how the water can be used. And I think the development of water dams and others, arguably in terms of international law, I think it's all right. But of course, China, in the process of development of that water dams and irrigation and systems and the facility like that, it has to keep well aware the sensitivities and also the concerns of lower reaches. But it's not only China, because it's along the river, it's the Lancang-Mekong River, there are other countries. So I think the water resources, area for water resources management or cooperation provide a very good opportunity to work out a difference for companies.
Here is something we need to clarify further, because there is this picture of ambiguity regarding the image of China, given our history of a tributary system during the Cold War, export of a Chinese revolution or Maoist revolution. I mean, overseas Chinese in these neighboring countries of ASEAN don't have very good memories. Therefore, there are reasons for them to have the mistrust. So, Western media reports about the poor image of China, the abusive behavior of constructing water dams, and they accuse China of using hydro diplomacy to enhance our influence in this region. The issue, gentlemen, is very much like in other regions such as Africa. The poor behavior of individual non-public enterprises may harm the image of China as a whole. As our global stakes are growing rapidly, how do you look at the relationship between the behavior of the individual enterprises and the image of China? Taking Mekong River as an example, Dr. Song.
Yeah. Now I think China diplomacy is learning from different voices from the lower Mekong River countries.
Are you saying we admit that some mistakes were made by individual enterprises along the upper reaches of the Mekong River, and we take these lessons into mind in the process of coordination? Is that a proactive effort through Chinese diplomacy to let them know, yes, we have to look at the issue square, and we're going to seek a diplomatic solution?
Yeah, frankly speaking, some of the China enterprises in the lower Mekong River countries, they have some misconducts, but most of our China enterprises there, they often do legal activities. But we know that there are some reasons for the lower Mekong countries. There are NGOs or media that people have some misunderstanding or even criticism towards China. First, China is very big. A big country always generates some misunderstanding or pressure to the small countries. Second, some NGOs or some mass media, they exaggerate some news. Maybe one enterprises, they say, one Chinese enterprises do some illegal things, but this is China's enterprises, or China's doing. So the third about that, China is in the upper land of the Mekong River. So any China's action will generate some misunderstanding or some worry from the lower Mekong countries. As far as I know, for the dam issue, or in the past 10 years, China basically have not built a big dam in the upper Mekong River. Second, I want to tell you a figure. In China, totally, we have electricity surplus in the whole country. And also in the southwest part, Yunnan, there is also great surplus of the electricity. So in the near future, China will have no necessity to build the new big dams on the upper Mekong. The third, China has now China diplomacy is very soft now. China always wants to learn some of the different views from the lower Mekong countries. There are people, different voices, or even some criticism. And now I think China's government, the Ministry of the Environment, I heard that when China is cooperating with other countries building the One Belt One Road initiative, the Ministry of Environment will crack down on the China parties or abroad for the illegal activities when they pollute the environment.
Given the maritime disputes in the South China Sea and our memories about the border clash back in 1979 at the height of the Cold War, do you think it's an easy job for example, for Vietnamese and Chinese to organize a joint patrols along the Mekong River and fight drug trafficking? Many Chinese watch the popular television drama about the tragedy of the Mekong River. Law enforcement personnel were sent in close cooperation with their counterparts in member states of ASEAN, I mean countries along the reaches of the Mekong River, to fight drug trafficking and to fight organized crimes. How sensitive is this issue? Because I believe it's also a part of the mission to put this initiative of Lancang-Mekong mechanism into operation.
It is true. I think the political and security cooperation is one of the three major pillars for MLC cooperation. We have so-called 3+5 framework. And if you look at the past sort of cooperation, trajectory cooperation, certainly we see the need to have enhanced cooperation in political and security areas. By politics we mean, I think, cooperation also help build up the political, trust. Security area, I would like to refer to a kind of a more practical area where is the cooperation in law enforcement and to make sure the safety and security of the sailors, of the ships and boats and other. That I think we see the importance and the need that. But of course it is also quite sensitive issues because it's all related to the sovereignty issues, the judiciary issues. So I hope that as the practical cooperation, the 5 priority cooperation goes on, they will see the need to have more coordination, more cooperation around the security areas, particularly on the law enforcement area.
We are in the first week of 2018, the new year. In your review of our diplomacy in 2017, how do you rate the performance of the Chinese Foreign Ministry given our proactive efforts to bring all member countries' claimants together in a reconciliatory attempt, so that, very much like Dr. Song said, we don't want to use coercion. Instead of we want to use soft power to persuade those who are involved in the disputes, let them come to the negotiating table.
I would like to give the foreign ministry grade A, and if they work even harder, that he should get A+. But it seems that we still have the problem, as you rightly said, that the image problem. So diplomacy in this round, the public diplomacy, how to make sure the outside world will have better understanding, appreciation about what China is doing. And what China is going to do is, I think, a task, a challenge ahead. But I'm confident that the foreign ministry as a whole and also people like us are working very hard so that China, the rise of China, more and more people will regard the rise of China as an opportunity rather than a threat.
Well, China has come under fire from Western media that we employ the British methods of divide and rule to enhance our solidarity with some member states of ASEAN. We'll keep the door of dialogue open for more of such discussions about the growing influence of China, not only in the sub-region of Mekong River, but throughout the whole of Southeast Asia. Until then, goodbye.